All right. Welcome to episode 159 of Auto Off Topic. Hey, we're back. What's up, Brad?
We had a little hiatus there for some vacationing things.
Mm-hmm. It was worth it, though.
For you.
Yeah. Did you do anything with cars? I don't think you...
I have spent 3 weeks doing nothing but not car stuff. That's not actually true. I took my Sapporo out of storage here because I'm getting it ready for Japanese Classic Car Show. So it's going through a full detail. I have to finish the under the hood, probably tonight, actually. And then do the heavy part of the interior, and then obviously we touch the interior up when we get to Long Beach with the car. But yeah, it's coming up pretty quick. That's actually this weekend. We're leaving Friday for that show.
Oh, so, right.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty quickly, and super excited about that. So super glad I got allowed to participate, I guess, because you need to apply to participate. So
Is our mutual friend Ron going with you?
he's not going, no.
No. Well, who's going from over there?
From Phoenix?
Yeah.
Nobody that I know very well. There's a few people that I know, like, existentially through the car world that are going. There's a guy who I think his Facebook name it's like KP61, which is a Starlet chassis code. He's got a bunch of old Japanese cars. And I think he's bringing his Starlet, actually, with him.
Oh, okay.
Let me just double check. I'll double check his actual Instagram tag before we give the wrong one, but it's something along those lines. I just know that there's 4 or 5 people going from Phoenix. So we're not like caravanning out together or anything. It's just one of those things that we all kind of know we're going.
Cool.
So yeah, it should be a good time. I'm super excited. I mean, I've been before. His Instagram name is 81KP61, which is for his 81 Starlet, which I think is the car he's bringing. But he's got a 77 Toyota pickup, a 66 Stout, a A86 at MR2. He's a Toyota guy, but he's got some really clean Toyotas. So his car is going. And there's a couple other Phoenix people that are headed that way. So it should be a good showing of the local crowd here in Long Beach.
Nifty.
We'll have to get our own Phoenix show going, so it doesn't. We don't have to run across the country for it.
But didn't you take I think you took the Spore out to the Pavilion show, didn't you?
Yeah, I took it to a local Cars and Coffee. So long story short, there's a Cars and Coffee in Scottsdale. It's been going on for a few years. And apparently this year they decided they wanted to move it to a smaller lot because they were tired of big crowds. And because with big crowds come a lot of new Mustangs, new Camaros, new Challengers, new Chargers. And they don't like that. So they took which, we don't love that either, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but, I mean, to be fair, that's how they want to...
A Cars and Coffee is usually a first-come, first-served kind of deal.
Yeah, and that's how those people want to enjoy their car life, is by having a new...
Right.
They just want to buy a new Camaro, Charger, Mustang. There's nothing wrong with that. They're great cars.
Yeah, so while we don't love looking at them, we're not going to disassociate with them from our Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, I don't want to look like a dealer lot.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, we're not going to tell them no.
Yeah.
They want to show up, they want to show up. It is what it is. However, so this local Cars and Coffee event decided that they were going to make their Cars and Coffee exclusive.
Right.
They haven't really done it the right way, though, because you can join their club if they approve you and pay a dues, and you're guaranteed to get in. Unless you're late, then you're not. If you don't want to join their club, you have to pay $10 to go to Cars and Coffee, which is already not correct. Like, Cars and Coffee is usually free. And when you get there, they'll decide at the gate if you're deemed worthy or not to go to their Cars and Coffee. That, to me, is where the problem lies. If you want to say no cars built after 1985, that's fine, because you've established a rule before you got to the event. you shouldn't be expecting people to show up to your event to then be told, and keep in mind, you got to get there at 6 a.m. So you shouldn't be expecting people to wake up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday or a Saturday to get to your event to be told at the door whether they can or can't get in. That to me, and pay $10 for the privilege of being in their event. That to me seems off. So, there's a new Cars and Coffee event that started in basically direct, defiance of this new rule for the Cars and Coffee there. So there's a new Scottsdale Cars and Coffee. They have an interesting concept. They're moving the lot every month, so that each month it'll be at a different venue.
So that get the neighbors don't get fatigued.
Yeah, well, neighbors won't get fatigued, the shops won't get fatigued, and also one day you'll have an event that's an hour from your house, and then maybe next month the event will be 15 minutes from your house. So it really opens the event up to more people, I think, because some people don't have the time to dedicate to drive an hour out of town and an hour back into town. Whereas if it's bouncing around town, yeah, it'll be a little harder to grab a following, but with Facebook and social media and all the things you have today, it shouldn't be too hard, as long as there's enough advance notice of where it's going. And props to the guy putting it on, because that's a lot of work to get permission from all these different, business owners and parking lots for one, non-profit show.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a cool concept. I went to the first one of the winter season, because we're in Phoenix here, so winter is the, go outside season. It was still really hot, because it's still, it was early September. At 6 a.m. it wasn't hot, but by the time we left there at 10, it was getting a little warm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty good. There were probably 60, 65 cars. We did have some Challengers, some new Camaros, but we also had a lot of other neat stuff that wasn't your typical Cars and Coffee. There's a ton of JDM stuff here in Phoenix, mostly because the laws here on registering cars are pretty lax. As long as you have headlights and taillights, you can pretty much get a plate here. It doesn't really affect the JDM cars, and obviously 25-year rule still affects countrywide, but 25 years here is still an antique car. You get to get vintage plates, and there's no inspection process whatsoever. So it's really easy to own a 25-year-old car out here. So there's a lot of JDM stuff there. Some off-the-wall JDM stuff, like a Nissan Cima, like C-I-M-A. I assume you pronounce it Cima. Just a little sedan. The Nissan Leopard, which is the Infiniti J30 in this country, which I don't think I've ever seen one imported as Nissan Leopard before. And I met I don't almost call him a local legend in the rally community here. I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted on my Facebook page, or my Instagram page, yesterday, asking for questions for this podcast.
I did see it.
With that lifted Celica.
Yeah.
Now, you and I had seen that Celica back in 2010 when we came out here for the Prescott Rally, and he was the 00 car. We're pretty sure he was 00 car that year. It turns out that for the subsequent years after that, he was actually the organizer of the Prescott Rally. And he has a couple of lifted Celicas. He has that one RA60, 1982, 83, 84 Celica. And he has a later, 94 Celica, also lifted with a exoskeleton, spare tires in the roof and stuff, which is also pretty neat. His name's John Rood, R-O-O-D. And he's pretty well known here in the rally community. So for organizing rallies and putting them on and being just a general supporter of all things rally out here. So it was really neat to meet him. Again, having seen his car 10 years ago and then not seeing it for 10 years and then just running into him randomly at Cars and Coffee was kind of cool. So that event was kind of cool. Looking forward to the next one. Not sure where it's going to be, but I'm sure I'll be able to find some time to get over there. And then we have a every Saturday show here called The Pavilions. It takes place, actually the technical name for the show was Rock and Roll Car Show or something stupid like that. Typical, cruise night style name for a car show. But it's neat because it takes place all day long. And people just rotate in and out during the day. So earlier in the day, you get the older crowd with the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s cars, and then it slowly rotates towards like some 70s, 80s and stuff, and then by nighttime it's mostly modern stuff with a lot of like, again, the JDM crowd or the Honda crowd or the Challenger, Charger, Camaro crowd. So because it was so warm and I had been out all morning at the other show, I waited until after dark to go, so I got the newer car crowd. But that's okay. It's still fun to walk around and check everything out. And former guest and friend of the show, Josh Mead, was there with his Galant VR4. He and his wife had decided to come down that night because they, on a whim as well, kind of like us. So it was kind of neat meeting up with him. We chatted with them for, I don't know, a solid few hours walking around the show, and then we all went out and grabbed dinner, so that was good. But I can't really remember what was at the show because I spent too much time talking. Just a lot of neat, normal cars and coffee style cars and cruise night style cars with a heavy emphasis on weird JDM stuff. A couple of K vans, a couple of K cars. There's one 1993 Mitsubishi Minica, which is the little hatchback. It was the rounded version of the Minica, like a newer version of it.
Yeah, those are neat.
Yeah, a little 600cc 3-cylinder. So that was kind of cool. And I got to talking to one of the guys there who's actually an importer here in town. So that might be a positive thought in the future. So anyway, yeah, that's about it for my my car life in the past few weeks. Other than that, just been driving my Volkswagen, Ubering people around.
Yeah. Then I've been posting a bunch of pictures of all the weird stuff I saw over in Europe.
Yeah.
Well, specifically on the Azores, the main island of the Azores.
Which is funny because I have a list or a folder in my phone of pictures I've taken around here of Mexican cars because there's a lot of the same cars.
Yeah, it's weird, right? That,
yep.
like, I don't know. I guess a WhySEAT would just compete with Volkswagen, but they're mostly in Spain. I don't know.
In Mexico, apparently.
Yeah,
I've seen a few down here with Mexican plates on them.
It's
just, I don't understand why they would sell them, but at the same time, I don't understand why they sell Chevys and Pontiacs. So I guess it's kind of the same thing. It's like Pontiac is to Chevy what WhySEAT is to Volkswagen.
Yeah, because they're basically just Golfs.
Yeah, it's just another version of the same car. The one that...
different bodies? Well,
yeah.
Body panels?
Body panels, yeah. The one that I posted the other day is the same as the Volkswagen Polo. So it's smaller than a Golf.
But I don't think we didn't get Polos here, though, right?
We did not, no. Although I do have a picture of one that I saw the other day. Because apparently they have them in Mexico, too.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of Polos. I also saw Volkswagen Ups. You have to say
is that
up
a van?
Because they have an exclamation point.
Exclamation point, yeah. Is that a van?
No, it's a little two-door hatch thing. And,
I don't think I know that one.
A lot of Mitsubishi Mirages, which are the Space Star.
Which is a cooler name.
Yeah, they should just call that here.
So, I've seen a bunch of those with Mexican plates on them, too. Do you know what they're called in Mexico?
No.
They are a Dodge Attitude.
Whoa.
Yes.
Weird.
Yep. Yeah, the first time I saw one, because the grill is different. It has that, like, late 90s, early 2000, like, crossbar Dodge-style grill. And I was like, what is that weird little thing with a Dodge grill on it? And I was like, oh, it's a Mirage. And I had to walk around the back and it says Dodge Attitude. And, of course, it had Sonoran plates on it because it's from Mexico, so... I need to find a way to get an address in Mexico. Not so I can buy Dodge Attitudes, but because there's so many cool random cars that you can get there. Like, every manufacturer makes a small pickup truck out there.
Yeah.
Like, I was behind a Nissan the other day. It still had the 70s style, like, tailgate latches. Like the big metal ones that, like, fold into themselves to latch the tailgate closed. But it was a brand new, like, 2019 Nissan. With a side step in the bed, had, like, bed tie-downs permanently around the side, like, factory installed. It's just it's a bizarre thing that there's so many different cars for different areas of the world. Yeah. And it's weird that I'm, like, 2.5 hours from the border here, and there's so many weird Mexican cars that just drive up and over, and they're so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like the being bordering countries, you wouldn't think there'd be so many different cars, but 9 times out of 10, if I see a car with Mexican plates, it's some weird thing we don't get here.
Do you see Peugeots?
I've seen a few Peugeots, and I see a ton of that one they made fun of on Top Gear all the time.
The Twingo?
No, not the Twingo. The Dacia.
Dacia?
The Dacia Senderos.
Yeah.
And are they Renault Dusters, the other version of it?
Yeah.
I see those all the time.
Yeah, I saw a Renault Duster up at the Maine Forest Rally with Mexican plates on it.
That's a hell of a drive in a out-of-country market vehicle.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that's really neat, but I see them everywhere. They're a very common car. So I need to find a way to get a Mexican address so I can have some Mexican-plated weird foreign cars.
Yeah, there was a bunch of course, Monteros, well, Pieros there, but they're all left-hand drive, which is cool.
Is the whole island left-hand drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Which I should have stopped, but I was like tired, and I don't know why I didn't think to, but I definitely saw a real Piero Evo versus that fake Hyundai one I saw also.
Yeah, the Galloper.
Yeah, the Galloper Innovation.
Okay.
Which was it's literally like there's a picture of it on our Instagram. It's like a weird knockoff of a Piero Evo I mean it's based on a Piero.
Yeah, because the Hyundai Galloper, whatever, is a licensed like Mitsubishi. It's not. There's no Hyundai parts on it.
Yeah, but it's
So,
like
but
if somebody took a Piero Evo, it's like I'm gonna draw one, but I don't quite remember what it looks like. But I have a pretty good idea of what it looks like.
And I can't really draw.
Yeah, that's what the innovation looks like.
So I wonder if Mitsubishi wouldn't allow them to have an Evolution version of it because that was their in-house. Like, hey, no, this is ours. And they're like, all right, we'll make our own. And instead of the Evolution, we'll call it the what is it, Innovation?
Yeah.
Which is a terrible name.
Yeah, and it's not like it looked like it was wider, but maybe not as wide. I don't know. It was driving by. I didn't have a good look at it, but it's just weird. And then, like, basically, where I was going with that is I should have looked at the Evolution, the real one, to see if it was actually left-hand drive. I don't know if they got ones in Germany that were left-hand drive, or anywhere else in Europe if they exported them.
I'm not sure.
Or if they're all right-hand drive. That's a good question for some of our Mitsubishi knowledge nerds that follow us.
Mitsubishi knowledge nerds other than us.
Yeah.
Yeah. we're not saying that we're not nerds.
Then I saw like there was a white CRX. That was probably one of the nicest cars I saw there, like as far as an enthusiast car. On really cool like multi-spoke OZs. There's a Celica, an early one with the pop-ups, the bubble car with the pop-ups, which is like an ST185, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But maybe the ST185 might be like the turbo one, but you know the body style.
I think the chassis code is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the 2-liter GT though, front-wheel drive.
So it was basically like the European version of the Eclipse.
Right.
It had like every option except for the turbo.
Yeah, which I was super surprised to actually come across a European version of the Eclipse. It's not a giant island, and I was like, it's kind of an old car, and I doubt I'll see one here. And then I happened to take a wrong turn when we're in this little town, and I was like, holy crap, there's one. So I made I was traveling with Stephanie, my mother-in-law, and my mom, and every time I would stop to take a picture of a car, they're like, oh, we're having an off-topic moment, so okay. I was like, whatever, I'm driving.
Whatever, they also all know what they got themselves into.
Yeah.
So, in fact, your mom was with you, so she raised you to be that. So,
yeah.
No, I was super appreciative of that because it was cool to see one in its element from somebody who was from here. Because I have a few German Eclipse friends that I've made like through Facebook and whatnot, and I see them, in Germany. But it was neat to see somebody from here run into one in another country.
Yeah, and then I only saw one UMM, and it was the same one I kept seeing, and then I finally got to take a picture of it, which is that Portuguese 4x4 that kind of looks like a mail truck.
A lot looks like a mail truck.
Yeah. They're pretty cool though. I mean, they're probably horribly slow, but I would rip one around. That'd be really fun.
Very slowly rip one around.
Yeah.
Are they
Um,
diesel?
yeah, they're diesel. Almost everything
Mm-hmm.
over there is diesel. The clatter of a turbo diesel is the sound of Europe.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, you're just walking down the street and you just hear that the clattery valve train and then the little whistle of a turbo, and it's just something.
Doing 4 miles an hour.
Ah, they're
Sounding-
pretty. The
so-
new ones are
sounding
really
300.
quick now. Like,
I guess. I mean, even my Volkswagen's not too slow.
yeah, I last time we went, we had the Mazda 3 or the CX-3 diesel, which was very quick for a diesel. Um, this time we had a Golf. Actually, yeah, we had a. I don't even know what year it was because it didn't say on the. And I'm not good with newer Volkswagens. They all. It was definitely like a Mark 6. So it was probably like,
Yeah, it was probably at 16, 17, 18.
yeah, 17, 18, something like that. It had 40,000 kilometers on it, so it's probably
Pretty-
16.
Pretty used up for a rental car.
Yeah, and it was the Eco Blue, so it had the 1.6 TDI,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little light on power, but it wasn't too bad once I got used to it.
Yeah, well, like my car is a 2-liter TDI, and it's not fast by any means. So I can imagine making it,
Yeah, but
400 cc smaller.
that small amount of displacement probably helps it out quite a bit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can imagine making it smaller. It can't be any better.
Yeah,
It'd probably be a lot worse. And a Golf is, I mean, the Jetta Sport Wagon is basically a Golf.
yeah.
So
I wish
Same
it had a
size
little
car.
more room in it for our luggage, but the Golf was fine. The weird thing about it, though, is it had an electric parking brake,
oh, that is weird.
which I was trying to remember. Your car is definitely a handbrake,
It's a manual handbrake. Yep.
and it's a 6-speed, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a 5-speed electric parking brake, and it had a button you could actually turn off the auto hill hold. And I was like, that's good because that can get annoying, right? So
Oh, sweet.
then I turned it on to try it, and we had this. There was like this super steep, like hill, like it was like a 25 to 30% grade you had to go down to get down to this beach,
Okay.
and it wasn't wide enough for 2 cars, so they had a light at the top and a light at the bottom. You had to wait. So we go to leave, and we're waiting at the light, and we're on the incline, and I think it had the thing on auto. You can take your foot off the brake, off the clutch in neutral. 1, the car will auto shut down, which is fine. 2, it will hill hold indefinitely on the hill.
Oh, that's weird.
Lights up all 3 brake lights, the high mounted, the 2 sides, and it will just sit there on the brakes. It's awesome actually. It like surprisingly worked really, really well.
So it's the opposite of the hill hold in my car that comes on when it wants to and surprises you and causes you to almost stall it.
Yeah, and the same with the Crosstrek. I was like, why does this one work so good, and yet the other ones don't work that well? Because as soon as you let off the clutch, it would release, So you'd come to a stop on a hill, you get your foot on the clutch, you could take your foot off the brake, the car would sit, and as soon as you came off the clutch and started to give it throttle, it released and would let you go.
Mm-hmm. It's probably because the electric parking brake makes it easier to apply the brakes.
Yeah, maybe. And
I'm
then
not
the other
even
thing
sure-
too.
I'm not even sure how it works in my car, to be honest with you.
Well, typically they'll have some sort of electric motor that will pull the cables.
Okay.
So maybe that's where the lag is.
I don't know. That's annoying.
And the other thing that was neat too, there was a couple times where, because I think your car reverses up and to the left, right? You push down and up and to the left.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the way this one was set up. So I was
That's
kind
the
of
way
like,
every Volkswagen has been for a
yeah,
long time.
it's a German like shift pattern, I call it.
Yeah.
There's a couple times we went to leave and I didn't quite go all the way over into first. I was into like second, and I'd like let off the clutch, the car would stall, and then as soon as you hit the clutch back in, because the auto start, it would start back up. You wouldn't have to touch the key.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like, oh,
How are you in second thinking you're in first?
just because like it's a diesel and it's got like good low end torque. So it was like I was trying to pull out of like these little tiny narrow streets, like parallel parking, letting off the clutch slightly, and it was like I thought I was in first. It wasn't quite over. I mean, the shifter was probably worn out. This thing's a rental car.
Second is below. You mean you were in third, not first?
Oh yeah, third.
Okay,
That's why.
that makes more sense.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
I was like, how did you forget that you were in?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant. It didn't quite have the gate all the way over, but it was. Once I got used to it, it drove pretty well. But it didn't have like the brakes were pretty good. It was a little soft, but you can go around the corners pretty well up there. I mean, the roads are like every road that's not the highway is basically like Tail of the Dragon.
Right. It's all left. It's all switchbacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can like tell. It's weird. I've talked about this before. All the rental cars have stickers on them. It must be some
Okay.
law. And you'll just come up and like you'll be stuck behind this person with a rental car sticker, just like going so slow, and you're like, "Come on!" Or
Clearly a rental car.
yeah, or like they'll be behind a slow-moving farm truck. Because here's the thing: so like on the highway, everybody has really good lane discipline. They move right over to the right. You can go around them, then you move over to the right, and the left lane basically stays empty. And when you're on these 2-lane roads, people do not move over for you. So there's a passing zone. It's just expected that you just go around them. They're not going to make it. They just continue at their same speed, and you just go around them. So these people are in these rental cars are just like sitting behind them, and there's like a dotted line, a passing zone. They just won't do it. It's like super annoying.
Right. They're afraid to get a speeding ticket in a foreign country.
Yeah, I don't know about speeding tickets. I hardly ever saw any police.
I'm sure when you get one, it hurts, though.
Probably. I mean, the autostrada, as they call it. I mean, it was like speed limit's like 90 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
But
So that's like
you
that's
could
like
do
that's
like
that's like 55 miles an hour.
yeah, no, 90's like 65, I think.
No, because 100 miles an hour. So 100 kilometers an hour is 60 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'd be doing like 120.
In a 90.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I had
70-ish miles an hour.
Yeah, but I also had like a Mirage blow by me,
Right.
which is like I'm like, wow, I'm impressed
Yeah.
because that is a little 70 horsepower gas car, and you are doing like 150 kilometers.
Clearly a local.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned the kilometer to mile an hour like change because of the Eclipse, because the dash is in kilometers an hour. So I have to like do my best to remember what's what when driving down the road, so I don't get a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
Because there's no like the American cars have the, they have the mile an hour on the top, and they usually have the kilometer an hour right below it, but you never really pay attention to it. But this German vehicle, because everything in Europe, anywhere this car would have been driven, is in kilometers an hour.
Right.
So it doesn't have the mile an hour conversion below it.
Right.
So I have to kind of guess a little bit.
So anyway, that stuff was that was super fun. Did a lot of car spotting, a bunch of other vacation-y things. I did post that picture of the Triton that was set up for like lifeguarding.
Yep.
They must be like sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors or something, because even down on the beach, the Yamaha jet ski had a big Mitsubishi Motors logo on it.
Oh, that's weird.
It was weird. But
Yeah, I was just picturing like a Portuguese David Hasselhoff driving that thing around the beach there, yelling at people.
Yeah.
Like a Baywatch style. Just a really even hairier David Hasselhoff.
All right. So anyway,
Oh, that's cool. What'd you do for car stuff here at home?
Oh, I mean, yesterday I lined up the Talon as
Right,
best I
but
could
you
with the plates.
But you didn't go to an alignment shop. You did it yourself.
No, I did it myself.
Yeah.
We got to recheck it. My dad helped me. I was moving the tie rods. He was checking the tape measures. It's like, it seems to drive pretty straight, and then like we lined it up, like everything looked nice and even. Even the tie rods looked even. And then you get on the road, and the wheel's a little bit to the left. So I'm thinking too, like I'm gonna double check it. We'll pull it back on the lift and check it and make sure it stayed straight, because it could have moved. And then the other thing too, I installed that Sparco wheel and adapter like 15 years ago when the car had no engine in it and was just sitting in the backyard before we put the engine in it. So who knows which way the wheels were aligned, if I even did it right back then.
Right.
So I might end up just re-indexing the
Has
wheel.
that car never been on an alignment rack since then?
Yeah, it has.
Oh, okay.
It has. But
So you'd think it'd be close then.
you would think, but having adjustable camber now and the caster bushings, that changes the toe alignment.
Right.
So there's a couple extra adjustments, but right now it's just not worth it to pay for a $200 corner balancing and alignment. So
Yeah, because you only have like a month left for the car. It's
yeah, and the rear, I need to swap out the rear subframe next spring and install adjustable upper arms because they're at the limits of their adjustment for camber. So the rear is like got really negative camber.
It's like -3 degrees. You were
Yeah,
saying?
it's like -3. It's like aggressive. Like it looks like an F1 car. But
So
it's
you
fine. I'm not
have-
taking the car very far. The other
Right.
thing too, I remember a friend of ours when he used to work at. This is going to be a different person than the one you're thinking of. He used to work at Bav Auto, and I worked with him at Mitsubishi for a while.
Okay.
Dan, he was telling me that they used to recommend for people with lowered E30s S drives, and that's how he convinced me to get S drives. He said they're pretty good for camber challenged cars. Like they wear pretty well.
Wear.
Yeah. So shouldn't be too bad. Whatever. Car drives straight. Good enough for
Again, it's
good enough
not
for a
going
car
further
show.
than it's not going further than Boston for Radwood in October. It's probably about the
Yeah.
longest drive it'll have.
Oh
for
yeah,
this
speaking
year,
of
so.
that, I went to Cars and Coffee on Sunday. Took the Galant out.
Yep.
And I have Radwood flyers. So if you're local, you might see me out at a car show or Cars and Coffee handing out flyers. I had a
Excellent.
couple of people actually didn't know that there was going to be a show.
Yeah, no, I've talked to a few people from back in the Boston area. They're like, "What? When is it?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's October 12th. And like I ran into two guys drove in, one in an R32 Skyline, one in an R33 Skyline, and I handed it to him. I was
Okay.
like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "I live right around the corner from there." So
that's cool because they're way up in New Hampshire.
And there's a Cars and Coffee Sunday morning I'm going to go to that's down near Taunton. So trying to like spread it out, get different areas.
Yeah.
And I'll try to, I think next week, I looked it up, is the one at Foxborough because it's got to go, it's like every other week and not on a week when there's a Patriots home game
Right.
because that would be impossible. It's on Thursday nights. I guess that's a really
Yep.
big show with a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
like 1,000 cars.
yeah, with a lot of 80s, 90s stuff. So I want to go check that out. Unfortunately, I missed the Lars Anderson one. That was the day my flight was coming back to the United States.
Yeah.
That would have been the ideal one, but
I have a feeling there's probably something at the place there advertising the event. There must be something.
yeah, from what I heard I was talking to Cal from Classic Car Log at the
Yep.
Sunday Cars and Coffee. He was saying a lot of people, he went to the Lars Anderson one. He said a lot of people were talking about Radwood at Lars Anderson. So
Okay, good.
that's cool. And then there's, I believe, I got to look up, there might be one in Nashville on Friday nights. So just going out, find the local ones that I haven't been to and putting them in some cool 80s cars. And of course I've been looking for different stuff. Like there was like there's a third gen Camaro at the Sunday Cars and Coffee that was I assumed it was a later 80s one because it had the plastic bumpers and the pointy nose. So it's probably late 70s, 80s, but I was like, that's an 80s car to me. Like that.
Yep.
I mean, the main bad guy in...
So a second gen Camaro.
Yeah, second gen, sorry.
Yeah.
The main like bad guy in Stranger Things, right, has one. So it was that type of Camaro.
Right. Yep. Yeah, like they went through 81, so.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a...
But then that was the car that every high school kid in the 80s attained, like dreamed of owning. So that
Exactly.
makes
It
that
fits
makes
the
it an
aesthetic.
80s car. Yeah, exactly. It's close enough. It's like my dad's Corvette. It's like they made it until 82, but it's really an 80s car because it really looks like an 80s car because it's a 70s car that they added all this additional stuff onto to make it look like an 80s car.
Exactly.
So it becomes an 80s car because of that.
Yeah, and there was a
So
super clean-looking white Fox body, 25th anniversary.
that's neat.
I threw a flyer in that thing. That was pretty cool looking. Hopefully they come by.
Yeah, hopefully,
I'd like to see
or
some.
at least spread the word.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more like Fox bodies, American stuff at Radwoods. So it's not just
I'm
about
sure. I'm sure this
E30s and
weekend.
Miatas. There's other stuff.
I'm sure this weekend at the Detroit show there'll be plenty of weird American stuff.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be there, but I'm sure being in Detroit, there's definitely a bunch of American stuff there. So that will be the show for American cars. But no, I'm super excited that it's the 12th, and I just I'm kind of bummed that the first Radwood Boston happened after I moved, but I'm flying home for it anyway, so it's not a big deal. So, and I'll have at least my Eclipse there, and you'll have probably both your cars, the Talon and the Galant, I assume.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Probably bring the truck too.
Oh, okay. And then I know my dad's got 2 or 3 that are going, so we'll have to figure out driver situations. But I have a few people that might be willing to drive vehicles for us. We'll see what happens.
You got any?
So
Shall we go through questions?
we could probably get there.
You want me to start with Instagram while you pull up the ones on your page?
Sure.
All right. Alex Stadel. Alex Stradali. Do you like oddball OE intermanufacturer relationships? For example, you can mate a wide block 4G64 to the bell housing from a select Mazda B2600s to a Mazda RX-7 Turbo R-type transmission to make a 4G swapped RX-7.
Of course. I mean, I don't know that I would 4G swap an RX-7, but I do like the swappability of transmissions because you could make a rear-wheel drive 4G63 almost anything.
Yeah. I mean that
there's
sounds like a nice combo that you need for the pickup you're trying to pick up.
No, the pickup is going to be straight Starion swapped.
Oh, right.
So because I already have all the parts, so I just need to make mounts and make it
Well,
work.
that's intermanufactured relationship, right? Different.
Yeah, kind of. Not really. Because there's no OEM exchangeability there. That's just taking the transmission and engine out of a Starion and dropping it in a 77 Toyota pickup.
I think there's like a Chrysler transfer case, like an N231 or something from Jeeps that bolts onto the back of the ASIN transmission out of Montero's.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can like do different stuff with them and get weird like
I wonder if that's because they use the ASIN transmission in a Mighty Max and a Dodge Power Ram 50.
probably. And you
That's
can
why
get
it's the same bolt pattern.
yeah, and you could like get a
Kinda like-
super low range transfer case for a Montero.
Okay. By using that.
Yeah. That's
I
basically-
also don't like it because my Sapporo has a Chrysler transmission
Oh, there you go.
and it's terrible.
Yeah.
It has that like 1962 torque flight, 904 based automatic transmission that is just the slowest, most lazy transmission you ever had coupled to a 4-cylinder. So that also is the reason for it not to be good. But at the same note, that also means that you could use I could swap an ASIN into that car pretty easily and make it shift a lot better. So I'm not going to because I'm going to swap it. I'm going to swap in a manual, but yeah. So the Chrysler automatic transmission in the Sapporo with a 4-cylinder and a carburetor is not an ideal match of mixed manufacturing.
No.
It's pretty terrible.
All right. View drop. I'm having fits with my pull type clutch. It's terrible. Why not just do it normal? Are there any oddball ways manufacturers have of doing common things that you've seen that drive you crazy? I'm trying to think.
We just talked about one.
Yeah.
The brakes on a Volkswagen having why not just have a manual pull e-brake? Why do you have electronic handbrakes?
Yeah, but I went from hating it to realizing how well it worked, so I was okay with it. I mean, definitely
I
the
don't know.
muscle memory. Every time we'd stop, I'd go to grab the handle.
And you rip the button off.
No, just like there's nothing there to grab. I have this like motion where I park a manual transmission car. I like pull it in. I pull it into second and then grab the handle like in one motion. That's like my
Yep.
move,
Yep.
and I like couldn't do it. It's like, what is happening here?
So now you'd come home and you've forgotten your motion and you park your car and it rolls into the garage every time.
Luckily, my garage is flat, but I
Yeah.
did get out of it the other day without putting it in gear or pulling the handbrake
Oh,
up.
wow.
It was like I like stepped out of it and that motion like started to move it. I was like, oh yeah, should probably
Whoops.
put it in gear.
Yeah, it doesn't automatically set the e-brake like this other car did.
No.
Did it also do that when you shut the car off? Did it automatically pull the e-brake?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Now I'm trying to think of like what weird ways. Oh, like I guess I think what was kind of weird. I think some Audis have like steering racks that are like up high,
Yep.
like up in the strut tower, or up on the body of the strut. That's kind of weird. Why don't they just do it on the knuckle like everyone else?
There's also the Cadillac North Star and the Nissan V8s that put the starter inside the valley.
Oh, right.
Like if you want to do a simple job like replacing a starter, you have to pull the entire intake off of those cars.
I think it's the Toyota V8, like an LS400.
Is it
the
a
starters.
Toyota V8?
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's the Cadillac North Star. I didn't know if it was a Toyota or a Nissan.
Or then
The
you
other
have
one.
for packaging, yeah, BMWs throw turbos in the valley of the engine.
Yep.
That's real
Also
weird.
a bad idea. But that's less maintenance, I would think, normally than a starter. Like a starter is something that would go and you need to fix it to like get the car back on the road the next day for work.
It would be less
Or-
maintenance if they didn't blow turbos. Like that's a big problem on those cars. I'm trying to figure out what he has a pull type clutch on. I think my mom's Volkswagen's set up like that. You step on the pedal and it pulls the clutch forward to release it.
Right.
But that's probably the function of it being a rear engine car, I guess.
Yeah, I know he's working on a Datsun Z car, but I don't think that's. He has a Mini Cooper too, which is. I don't know. I'm not sure what car has that issue.
Yeah, I don't have like a super good answer off the top of my head. Like, I don't know. Torsion bars are a little weird, but like might be easier if the front of a Montero had like a coil spring and like a shock, like most IFS, instead of like torsion bars. You'd probably get more travel out of it.
You definitely get more travel out of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of vehicles have a lot of trucks have torsion bars. My the Chevy pickup trucks have torsion bars.
Yeah, it's like an older style setup,
Yep.
like the Cadillacs like that, which is kind of weird. It's basically just
Yep.
a truck underneath.
A front wheel drive truck.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question. Laserhawk. What's a car you probably should like, but for some reason you don't like? What would you change on it so you like it? We probably answered this before, but we'll answer it now.
I don't know if we've answered it this way. Usually it's what car do you like that you shouldn't like?
Oh, okay.
This is the other way around. This is a car that's generally known as a good car, but you just don't like it. I mean, for me, it would be all of the modern muscle cars. Challengers, Chargers, Camaros, Mustangs. Universally, they're known to be good cars. They're fast, they're good looking, they're reliable. I just don't like them.
So what would you change? That they're less reliable and less modern convenience? Is that what you change?
I'd make them smaller. Specifically the Dodges. I mean, they're really neat cars, and if they were like, 6/8 size, they'd probably be a lot more appealing to me.
But they're as big as the
monstrous
originals.
Cars. No, they're bigger. Park a new Challenger next to a 70 Challenger, and it is a significantly larger car. You ever seen the comparison photos?
I don't know. I don't believe those because, they're not exactly the they might not be taken from the right perspective or
Well,
whatever.
I've seen them at car shows parked next to them, and they are a significantly larger car. I mean, the new Challenger is the size of like an old Roadrunner. Like it was the much bigger vehicle of like the 71, 72 years. The Challenger is much bigger than an old Challenger. So I would make them smaller, and if they were smaller, I'd probably be a little more into them, and that goes for all of them. For the Camaro, it goes for like you can't see out of them. You know, that's not fun. The few that I've driven have been almost impossible to see out of. I don't know. I feel like I should love them, but I don't love them. You know.
There's a bunch of like really good cars that, like I guess maybe they just don't. They have like an automatic or something,
Okay,
and that makes me not like them. Like
that's a valid point.
I should like a Kia Stinger, but
Yeah,
you can
for
only
sure.
get an automatic. So I don't have any interest in it anymore. But on the flip side, it's kind of hypocritical because I can't get a manual in my year style Montero that I have here. But yet I drive it anyways because that's the only way you can get it.
Your car's not a sports car either.
This is true.
You're talking about a sports car, and you want the sports car to be engaging to drive and not have an automatic transmission. So,
Yeah,
I
it would
think
be like
I think that an SUV is a totally different animal than a Kia Stinger. Like if Kia came out with a new version of a Montero kind of vehicle, and it was only automatic, you would accept it, and you'd be like, "All right, that's neat. I'm buying that." But they didn't. They came out with a sporty sedan. It's supposed to be like a BMW, but you can't get it in a manual transmission. So it doesn't make any sense for a car enthusiast to buy it. And I've been hearing a lot of talk about these newer like hypercars and sports cars that are automatic only, where people are saying that, you know, the car is actually too fast for a manual. You know, everything happens at such a rate of speed that you couldn't even keep up with a manual transmission. And I mean, I've never obviously driven one of those cars, but I can see that being the only case where a sports car shouldn't have a manual, where something that like the car revs from, you know, 1,000 to 10,000 RPM in a half a second. Like you don't have time to.
well, you know, maybe they give you paddles or something, just something to be
Yeah,
engaging.
those guys have paddles, and the Kia Stinger has paddles. But what I'm saying is, paddle shifting, I think, is allowable in a super hypercar like that.
Yeah.
But if you have something that's a normal everyday driver, no, I want a true third pedal and a shifter.
Yeah, like the last Evo MR with the paddle shifters, it was quick, but
It wasn't
shifting
fun.
the paddles got boring after a while. Even 'cause
Yeah,
it
you,
was just
you
like
wind up putting it in automatic mode
yeah,
because you can't. Yeah, that anytime I've ever driven a car with a paddle shifter, you wind up putting it in fully automatic mode because you feel it doesn't feel any different than shifting it yourself.
yeah. It's just a novelty.
Right. So that's why I'm saying that like a super hypercar, where you see these videos of a guy, you know, and he paddle shifted through, you know, well, 8th, 9th gear, whatever they have now, within the first 5 seconds of the video, and you're like, yeah, I get it. Like that makes sense. This car probably couldn't have a manual transmission because it wouldn't work. But we're not talking about cars like that. We're talking about cars that we like. We're not hypercar people. We're old clapped out Japanese car people.
Everybody tells me I should like El Caminos, but I don't.
They're so convenient. They're low like a car, they drive like a car, and they have luggage like a pickup truck.
No. 'Cause
Yes.
9 times out of 10, I just want a car to be a car.
Until you have to haul sheets of plywood.
Oh, that's what I did see over in the Azores was 4-door, short bed L200 Tritons,
Okay.
like the boxy-ish ones.
Yeah,
Kind of like a
like the one that friend of the show Phil Hansford had.
yeah, those or like they're a little bit
His is-
newer, like they're mid 2000 like Montero Sports nose on them.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, I would drive the hell out of one of those. That'd be super
There's a-
useful because it's a small
there's a-
truck with a decent sized bed, but
Yeah, it's
4
still a
doors
truck.
to put people in.
Yeah, that's still a truck though. It's
Yeah.
not a car. So it
That's,
still
yeah,
drives like
and
a
it's
truck.
a truck. It's a 4x4 truck.
Right.
That's useful.
Whatever. When I have to pick you up somewhere, when I own an El Camino or a Ranchero or a Volkswagen Caddy pickup, and you can't Go with me because you won't get in it because you're embarrassed to be in a mullet-mobile.
Yeah.
Have fun walking.
Or all our stuff gets stolen out of the back because it's not secured.
But it all fit. We'll have rider's insurance, like renter's insurance.
All right.
All your stuff's covered. I like El Caminos, but that's obviously a personal preference. A lot of people don't. It's not just you. You're not
I would
alone.
change them to be cars.
Just like a cap on it, make it a station wagon.
Yeah. I would make El Camino station wagons. Just give me all the station wagons.
Yeah, then you can't bring tall things
How often do you need to stand something up in the bed of a truck?
every day.
All right.
Listen, I drive a station wagon every day, so it's not so I get it, but I don't know. I'll always defend the El Camino because I like them.
All right. Young Timers Portugal, which Young Timers is a European sort of term for like 80s and 90s cars, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like 75-ish and up as a young timer.
Yeah. So Young Timers Portugal
down is an old timer.
Yeah.
It was actually really neat because he was commenting a lot on all your posts.
Yeah,
he has all the local car knowledge. Mm-hmm. So it was really neat to hear his take on everything you were talking about over there.
His question: what do you guess an average North American would think after driving a small European hatchback? A European hatchback with a small diesel engine like a Megane. Is it a Megane?
A Megane.
A Megane 1.5 DCI. I don't know how quick they are. I mean, I drove the Golf with a 1.6 diesel. I didn't hate it. I actually kind of liked it by the end of the trip. I was like, this is a pretty sweet little car. I wish it was the wagon that you had. Like, I just need a little bit more space out of it.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, you're not the typical American car buyer either.
This is true.
You drive a 15-year-old Montero every day, and you don't need that V8 rear-wheel drive pickup truck power to be satisfied with a car. So I bet a lot of, if you flew over there and your daily driver was a Ram 1500 Hemi, and you weren't like a car guy who was into all kinds of cars, and they hand you the keys to this little 1.6 liter TDI Golf with a manual, you would be hating life.
Yeah, I guess. But if you brought them over here, a lot of people drive small front-wheel drive cars here.
Right.
Like, even though there's a lot of trucks on the road, the majority, I feel like, of people just drive a front-wheel drive sedan.
Yeah, a Camry, a Corolla, or an Accord.
Yeah.
Or a Jetta or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't think people would notice if you made, as long as the diesels and the modern diesels they drive like gas cars, I think it'd be just fine. But we'll never get diesels over here again. Brand new. One, because even now they're finding that they still pollute a lot in Europe.
Right.
But diesel is significantly cheaper over there, and that's why they do it.
Right.
Because it was like one. This is a euro, so it's like 1.25 euro per liter per diesel, versus like $1.60 of euro per diesel of fuel, per liter of fuel.
Yeah. And how much is €1 right now?
€1, I think, was about one. It's like $1.25 American, or $1.50 American for €1.
Okay. So you're talking 50% more.
It goes the wrong way, so it costs. It costs more to get euros.
So if it's $1.50, that means it's $2.25 a liter for diesel.
Yeah.
Which is $2.25 a liter. That's
and you get 4 liters in a gallon.
Yeah.
It's incredibly expensive for diesel.
It's almost $10 a gallon.
When we told our friends there how much we pay for fuel, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because it's gas is almost free in the United States compared to what it is in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, and diesel here actually costs the same as regular fuel, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's within a few cents usually at the pump per gallon.
But your mileage is much better.
They are more efficient. Yeah, that's the trade-off.
They are more efficient in fuel, but less clean.
Right.
So there's a trade-off. I don't know. Pick your poison. Literally, pick your poison.
Yeah. For now, I'm running a diesel and I'm happy because it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Know where we're going.
So moving on to my questions.
Yep.
So I tried something different because of the way Instagram has been and Facebook have been. If you're a business page, they really kind of hide your posts a little bit, I think. So I posted a separate listener question post to my personal Instagram page.
Yeah.
And I think I learned a lot more about Instagram than what the system makes it do, because 174 people liked it,
right?
And nobody asked a question.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
So they all like looking at the pictures, but they don't like communicating with, are reading the post and seeing what it's all about. They just, oh, cool picture, double click, moving on. So there were a few comments, but none of them were actual questions. So we'll skip right over that and go to the Facebook page. Do we have any questions there, Andrew?
We just had one.
Okay.
Just from Frank Eck. And actually, speaking of that, so social media and Facebook's blocking of content to its user, where they're basically holding you, off topic, and any other non-person pages from being seen. Heard of anything in the pipe that could replace it? Not really.
Facebook and Instagram? No. If I knew something that was going to replace Facebook and Instagram, I'd be buying stocks right now.
Yeah.
So I have no idea.
I know Brian Driggs is working on forums for the Gearhead project.
Yep.
So people can go interact and get back to
awesome.
Forums.
And that's awesome, but that's only going to get the people who are already in the know.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to reach out to others, unfortunately.
I mean, it's really just it just comes with interaction. And if you interact with people and you make useful comments, it kind of does stuff to your account and it moves you around and whatever.
Yep.
I mean, we get enough interaction. I think it's fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, we usually ask a question post. We get 10 to 15 questions, and that's pretty good, I think. That's probably pretty average. So, there was only one question on my personal Instagram page, Facebook page, which was from Santiago, who says, "Why didn't you come to STPR?" And I guess that could be directed at both of us. But, I mean, it's obvious why you didn't come, because you were in the Azores. And I didn't come because I'm out of flight credits and money to spend on flights, going back and forth across the country for everything. And I have 2 more flights across the country before the end of the year to Boston. So just SDPR was not in the cards.
Yeah,
Maybe
I would have loved to
year,
go.
If Jordan and Liz compete next year, I'll say it here right now, I'll try to go.
And I feel like when we originally planned our vacation, it had been being held in June.
Right.
And it was held in June for many, 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 many years. And I was like, cool, it's in June. And I was off in June. I was like, I'll go check it out. And then they're like, nope, we're moving it to September. I was like, well, guess I'm not going because I'm already busy.
Yep. So
unfortunately, it was kind of a bummer because Santiago was there. Cooper Auto Works was there. Of course,
yes. Yep.
Liz and Jordan were there. So a bunch of people that we know and interact with us. It was a big melting pot of all the rally people that know us. So that was kind of a bummer.
Right.
But it looked like it was a giant mud pit too. So I kind of am happy I didn't have to walk around in the mud, but a little bummed to miss the rally action. So,
well, I think that what I'll try to do is by some point next year, when it comes around, I'll probably have at least another car still in Massachusetts to bring here. So I'll try to plan it on part of a cross-country trip. Bring a car from Mass to here, and I'll stop there for the weekend. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll try to go next year. If Jordan and Liz are competing, I'll definitely try to go next year. Try to help them out, be crew, So anyway, anything else, Andrew?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
As always, follow us on Instagram, Auto Off Topic Podcast. Auto Off Topic on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook. Messed this up. Follow me on Instagram, Race and Anger. Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at TSISS350.
All right. And don't forget, of course, Radwood coming up October 12th. Hopefully, if you're local, let's get all the local people out there with 80s, 90s cars.
Yeah, for sure.
Show them what we have to offer here.
And if you're anywhere near LA this weekend, Long Beach in particular, definitely check out JCCS. It's the probably premier vintage Japanese car show outside of Japan. It's definitely the biggest, for sure. And there'll be a lot of cool stuff there. And yeah, I'm stoked.
All right, cool. All right. Keep cars analog and aim for the roses.